This is the Power Platform Daily Brief for Tuesday, April 30th, 2019. I'm Joel Lindstrom. This is what you need to know about the Power Platform today in 10 minutes or less. Today on the Flow blog, Microsoft announced that they plan on building an ecosystem of open source connectors. As the connectors for Microsoft Power Apps and Flow have continued to grow, over 250, Microsoft wants to empower makers in the community to extend and enhance these connectors. So they are going to be releasing them as open source. So what does that really mean? Does that mean that George Dubinsky will finally be able to add the features that he wants in the SurveyMonkey connector? Not exactly. Open source does not mean, to quote George, that he can modify the official version. You can fork and create your own private connector based on theirs, or you can submit a pull request to suggest new features. But that doesn't mean that those will necessarily get into the public version of the connector. But it's a positive step. It makes it easier for developers to extend the connectors to build private versions that enhance the functionality. And over on Twitter, Austin Bird from the Microsoft development team announced that they've launched a beta for the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Market Insights alerts. What this is AI-powered alerts where you can log in and you can store search terms. So I went in and created one for podcasts and Power Apps and Microsoft Flow and other relevant terms. And you can get a daily summary email. So on the surface, this is a lot like you might do a saved Google search or something like that, but it's more intelligent in that you can say what's relevant, what's not, and over time, it should get more intelligent and more relevant to what you're looking for. So this is exciting to see and something everybody can use. I started getting my daily summary alerts. Some of it's been relevant, some of it hasn't, and if you join the beta and then you retweet, he's giving away some really snazzy stickers for Office. And so go ahead and retweet that and maybe you can win those stickers. About 24 hours from now, on the 1st of May, May Day, or the 2nd, depending on your part of the world, we are going to be trying something new here at Serum Audio, and that is a live podcast. Here's how the rules are going to work. So we have a Teams link. If you go to the link in the show notes for Serum Audio Live, you'll see a Teams link along with the times that this is going to be. It's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. my time, but it's in the morning the next day in Sydney time where George Dubinsky is going to be. And so we're going to have a number of our hosts there. And so what we're going to do is it's going to be like a radio call-in show. So you connect to the Teams meeting. Type your questions in the chat. When it comes your turn, we'll unmute you. You can ask your question. This is your time to be a guest on the Serum Audio Podcast Network. So that should be exciting. Maybe it'll blow up. We don't know. We've never tried it before, but it should be a lot of fun. And next week is Microsoft Build. I will be there. Well, Build is a developer conference, and I'm not technically a developer. There's a lot of Power Platform sessions there, so I'm planning on taking those in, as well as some Power BI and some other relevant topics, also using a chance to see people at Microsoft that I haven't seen for a while. If you're going to be at Build and you want to meet up, I'd be glad to meet you. I may have some Serum Audio swag with me if I can get it in time, so feel free to drop me a line on Twitter or via the Serum Audio voice at serum.audio email address and let me know you'll be there. Be glad to meet up with you if you want to chat Power Platform. And yesterday on Serum Tip of the Day, I wrote a tip of the day called Can non-developers really write Power Apps? I've seen a number of questions, some which I've gotten, some which have been asked in the comments on various community sites and blog posts, people reacting when they see really cool things that someone like Scott Durow does and saying, I don't think a non-developer could really build a Power App because they see the really more complex formulas and expressions and think, I could never understand how to do that. And I kind of fight against that in my answer on the tip of the day, in that yes, there are some really complicated things that you can do with Power Apps as well as Flow, but there's a lot of scenarios that don't need the more complex functions. And what you need to understand is it's not coding or developing. It is really writing formulas and expressions, much like Excel. There's many of the expressions and formulas that you have in Excel that are also in Power Apps because that's where Power Apps grew out of Office. And so they intentionally try and keep it very Excel-like in the way you do formulas. And so just like no one would say, I don't think anybody who's not a developer can use Excel because they can't write VBA macros, you shouldn't say, I don't think anybody who's not a developer can use Power Apps because they're not a developer. So I'll put a link there. We will have a Power Platform Tips podcast coming up later this week or early next week, whenever we can get that recorded. But go ahead and visit that and look at the other tips that we've had recently. And for our final story, let's look at one of the previews that's currently available on experience.dynamics.com. And if you're not signed up for the Insider program, you need to be so you can look at what's coming before it becomes generally available. One of the things I wanted to highlight was the Dynamics 365 Nonprofit Accelerator. And the Dynamics 365 Nonprofit Accelerator is a suite of sample apps built on the Common Data Service designed to solve the most pressing scenarios nonprofits face. It's designed for partners to use to develop solutions that reduce the cost to develop and adopt Dynamics 365 for nonprofits. They're released accelerators that support impact measurement and constituent management, with more components available over time. So that's available now, and if you are a nonprofit or you work with nonprofits, check it out. And there's a link I'll put in the show notes to a Microsoft blog from last year that has a nice video about Team Rubicon and volunteers rebuilding communities. So check that out. So this has been the Power Platform Daily Brief for Tuesday, April 30th, 2019, because better late than never. And remember, join us on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on your time zone, for Serum Audio Live. Power on!